Since 1986, when issues of the graphic novel Watchmen by writer Alan Moore and artist Dave Gibbons were first issued by DC Comics, there have been numerous plans to film it, with directors like Terry Gilliam and Darren Aronofsky attached at various stages. But it was Zack Snyder of 300 fame who finally got the nod. This dark, nihilistic film about retired superheroes is narrated by one of them, Rorschach, Jackie Earle Haley, who has his suspicions when one of their number, the comedian, is murdered spectacularly in the opening sequence.
Just a matter of time, I suppose.
The superheroes, the only one with superhuman powers, Dr. Manhattan, Billy Crudup, Alexander the Great Admirer, Ozymandias, Matthew Good, Silk Spectre 2, Malin Ackerman, and Night Owl 2, Patrick Wilson, have been in forced retirement. But the fate of the comedian, tensions between Russia and the US, Rorschach's imprisonment and problems with the relationship between Silk Spectre 2 and Dr. Manhattan galvanise everyone into action again. I hadn't read the graphic novel of Watchmen when I saw the film, but I was so impressed by the writing, by the cleverly cynical themes, by the fabulous look of the film. Zack Snyder's done a wonderful job of recreating the novel based on what I believe is a very faithful screenplay adaptation by David Hayter, who became one of the film's producers. It actually benefits from not casting stars in the various roles, and I bet the budget did too. Performances at tops, with Jackie Earle Haley really wonderful as Rorschach. That voice is to die for, literally. I've since rushed out to get hold of the novel, the first comic I've read in about a zillion years. It's fabulous, and so is the film. What a pleasant surprise, David.
You're wonderful, Mark. The way you see a film and you go out and buy the record or buy...
I'm very easily swayed.
You are,
David.
yes, I know. Look, this was a pleasant surprise for me too, because I've got a bit sick of superhero films, because basically they're pretty much the same, and of course you occasionally get something a bit different like The Dark Knight. So I went to see this without much enthusiasm, and I was very pleasantly surprised because, first of all, it's very funny. I mean, there's a wonderfully dark sense of humour in this parallel universe, which is taking place in America in the 80s, but Richard Nixon is still president, and all these sort of Cold War tensions are continuing unabated and even worse than before. So if anybody lived through that period, there's a lot to enjoy from the jokes about all that.
But it's so, I mean, it's in the language too. It's so nicely written.
It's very nicely written, and it's extremely spectacular, but it's also, of course, unusually violent and graphic in other kinds of ways for this sort of thing. I mean, this is definitely not a comic hero film for kids, young kids anyway.
No.
I mean, it's a very mature
But
film.
you see, it is all in the writing, because you think about it. You see, I think Iron Man was really well written too. Dark Knight.
Yes.
But I think this is so like, this knocks them dead, really. I think it's
very,
really
very
fabulous.
good. Yeah.
I'm giving it 4.5 stars for a comic book, for God's sake.
Yeah. Well, I'm giving it 4.
I love working on American soil, Dan. Ain't had this much fun since Woodward and Bernstein.
How long can we keep this up?
Congress is pushing through some new bill that's gonna outlaw masks. Our days are numbered. Till then, it's like you always say, we're society's only protection.
From what?
Are you kidding me? From themselves.
The idea of Watchmen is that it deconstructs the sort of superhero mythology, and it does it in a way that it brings into question a lot about sort of humanity and the way people interact with each other, the way if you impose your morality on someone else, and so it uses superheroes as a metaphor for politics and human relationships and sexuality. And so, it's funny, I was talking to Lloyd Levin, who's one of the producers, and got up after we screened the movie the first time, and he went, "It's awesome. I just wonder if the world's ready to think about big problems in the context of superhero movie." And I said, "Well, I don't know, but that's what we did."
Retribution.
I wanted to make a movie that showed the consequence of violence in reference to superheroes, which is the thing we never see, and also that in the sexuality, that they're people, and that they're not complete unless they are fighting in their owl costumes or their latex, costumes, and there is a fetishistic aspect to it. You have to sort of to examine that psychology is kind of fun. Find the perversity, if you will.
Somebody knows why. Somebody knows.
The graphic novel has a huge international fan base. How nervous were you making it that the fans were going to go along with you?
I credit 300 in some ways with allowing me to push the studio past their comfort zones a little bit with just the themes. And, if it was up to them, this would be a superhero movie in the sort of classic sense, and all the difficult parts would be, the pokey parts would be removed. So, I guess that I hope that fans of the graphic novel understand that we've fought long and hard to keep the spirit of it in there.
Why would I save the world I no longer have any stake in?
Do it for me. I get it. I understand why there's such a huge fan base. I mean, it really is a spectacular novel, and we all became big fans, and we didn't want to mess it up. We were definitely heart and soul into it. So, and having Zach as one of the major fanboys, helped because there was a lot of trust that we put into him, and we knew that we had a great leader at the helm who was pushing through and making it as real, and as allegiant to the novel as we possibly could.
Let's be honest, we are scared of the fans of this book.
Oh,
They're
that's
crazy.
Our biggest fear.
They are. It's
a
scary group.
Job.
They're well versed in this, and we were, so aware, and frankly, fear was a big motivator of wanting to do this movie right, because
challenge.
You go to these events, Comic-Con, and you see these guys, and they know it. They know the novel.
Yeah.
They know the source material.
But they were really supportive.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were excited,
and I think that's our first
and
indication that we might be doing the job that we were supposed to be.
That was director Zack Snyder and actors Malin Ackerman and Jeffrey Dean Morgan talking about Watchmen, which opens nationally tomorrow.